the gig economy. Sounds fun, right? Like a never-ending music festival, except you're the one constantly playing to an audience of demanding customers and faceless algorithms. We've all heard the promises: be your own boss, set your own hours, wear pajamas to work. But behind the shiny veneer of flexibility lurks a darker reality. This isn't about empowerment, it's about exploitation, plain and simple, and it's time we call it out for what it is. Let's talk about the big players, the ones who built this gig economy playground: Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Grubhub, the list goes on. These companies have revolutionized the way we think about work, offering flexibility and the promise of being your own boss. But at what cost? They've made billions off the backs of gig workers, all while claiming they're just tech platforms connecting people. The reality is far more complex and far less glamorous. These workers are often left to fend for themselves, navigating a labyrinth of algorithms that dictate their every move. They wash their hands of any responsibility for the very people who make their empires tick. The executives sit in their boardrooms, making decisions that affect thousands, without ever meeting the people whose labor fuels their profits. No minimum wage, no benefits, no sick leave, just the freedom to hustle until you drop. The gig workers are left to deal with the physical and emotional toll of this relentless grind, often working late into the night just to make ends meet. Sounds like freedom, right? More like indentured servitude with a smartphone. The promise of flexibility and independence quickly fades when faced with the harsh realities of gig work. It's a system designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many. Here's the thing about endless hustle: it takes a toll. Gig workers face sky-high rates of anxiety, chronic stress, and burnout. Dudes are busy juggling multiple apps, racing against the clock for every delivery, every ride, every penny. The pressure is relentless. And let's not forget the financial insecurity. One flat tire, one sick kid, and you're staring down the barrel of a financial crisis. This isn't just about a few bad apples, it's systemic. Passing the buck? Hell no. Now, before we lay all the blame at the feet of Silicon Valley, let's be honest, we're all complicit. The gig economy didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was built on our collective demand for convenience and low prices. We wanted faster services, cheaper rides, and instant deliveries, and Silicon Valley delivered. But at what cost? Governments have failed to regulate these companies, leaving workers completely vulnerable. Despite numerous calls for better protections and fair wages, legislation has lagged behind. Politicians often talk about the need for change, but meaningful action is rare. The result? A workforce that is overworked, underpaid, and lacking basic worker benefits. Middle-class employers have embraced the gig economy to cut costs and dodge responsibility. By hiring freelancers and contractors instead of full-time employees, they save on benefits and salaries. This practice has become so widespread that it's now the norm in many industries. But while companies save money, workers pay the price. And let's not forget about us, the customers. We are the ones who fuel this system with our endless demand for more, faster, cheaper. Every time we order a ride, book a service, or get food delivered, we are participating in this economy. It's easy to ignore the human cost when the app makes everything so seamless. We love the convenience, the cheap rides, the food delivered to our doorstep. It's become a part of our daily lives. But behind every delivery, every ride, there's a worker who is often struggling to make ends meet. They work long hours, face job insecurity, and lack basic protections. But that convenience comes at a huge cost. The gig economy has created a class of workers who are perpetually on the edge, with no safety net to fall back on. They are the backbone of this system, yet they receive the least benefits. It's a trade-off that we, as consumers, need to be more aware of. And we need to start asking ourselves if it's a price we're willing to pay. Is our convenience worth the exploitation of others? Can we push for better regulations and fairer practices? It's time to rethink our role in this gig economy mess and take responsibility for the impact of our choices. Reclaiming the future of work. It's time for a real change. So what's the solution? First, we need to reclassify gig workers as employees, not independent contractors. They deserve basic labor protections like minimum wage and overtime pay. Universal healthcare is a must, because nobody should have to choose between their health and putting food on the table. Platform cooperatives, owned and governed by workers, offer a promising alternative to the exploitative models of big tech. Rise up. The gig economy needs you to give a damn. It is a rapidly growing sector, but it comes with its own set of challenges and injustices. Workers in this sector often face precarious conditions, lack of benefits, and minimal job security. It's time for us to take a stand and demand actual change. But none of this will happen without pressure. We need to come together as a community to push for better working conditions and fair treatment. Signing petitions, attending rallies, and spreading awareness are just a few ways we can make a difference. We need to demand better from our elected officials. They have the power to enact laws and regulations that can protect gig workers. By voting for candidates who prioritize labor rights and holding them accountable, we can create a more just system. We need to hold these companies accountable for their actions. Many gig economy companies prioritize profits over people, leading to exploitation and unfair practices. Legal action and public pressure can force these companies to change their ways. And we need to support gig workers fighting for their rights as well. They are on the front lines, demanding fair wages, benefits, and job security. Our support can amplify their voices and bring about meaningful change. The gig economy isn't going anywhere. It's a permanent fixture in our modern world, providing flexibility and opportunities for many. However, this should not come at the cost of workers' rights and well-being. But it's time we reshape it into something that works for everyone, not just the Silicon Valley elite. By advocating for fair policies and ethical business practices, we can create a gig economy that benefits all stakeholders. So the next time you order that takeout or hail that ride, remember the human cost of your convenience. Behind every service is a worker who deserves fair treatment and respect. And then, do something about it. Whether it's supporting legislation, joining a protest, or simply spreading the word, every action counts. Together, we can make a difference.